The language at first, I thought it was going to be a lot harder than it was, because it is an Asian-based language, and we always have this fear of Chinese or something like that, that it's going to be insane, because it is a tonal language. But it's very, very simple, surprisingly. It's actually more simple than Japanese or Korean and Cambodian, because it has no conjugation of verbs. There's one word to say his, her, he, she, whatever it is. So that makes it very simple. The only hard part is the pronunciation of vowels, because they have some vowels that we don't have in English, and vowel lengths. So at certain times there will be, it'll have the same vowel sound, but you have to hold it out for a little bit longer in certain words. And then of course tones. Tones were interesting at first, but eventually I nailed that down. But some missionaries are just tone deaf and they can't hear it. And so they go throughout their mission without ever knowing that they can't do the tones. I was very blessed and very fortunate to be able to, hear the difference. But even now, like, I come home and every once in a while I'm speaking Thai with a friend over the phone or something, and my family will be like, we didn't hear a single tone. Like, what was that? I'm just like, well, I heard it. But the most important thing that really helped me after the MTC and in the MTC is learning the characters and learning the alphabet. They have fewer consonant sounds than English does, but they have more consonant letters. Because there's 3 degrees of consonants, where you have your lower class of consonants, you have your middle consonants, and then you have your upper consonants. And that will actually also determine the tone of a certain word if it doesn't have a predetermined tone marker on the word. And so, unlike Chinese, Thai has an alphabet where each letter makes a certain sound. It's really, really nice in that aspect, that you don't have to memorize like full characters as words and stuff. You just learn an alphabet like you would back in school and stuff. But reading is, again, just the same as English, left to right. The only difficult part is there's no spaces in between words. And so you just kind of have to know the combination of letters and figure out, almost like it was in English. Like, we could still read English if there was no space between words. It would just be a little bit more difficult. But we'd still recognize the words and stuff. So it's just very similar to learning English all over again, which is really hard, but reading was the most important thing in Thai. A missionary could get by with just learning how to speak it, but the sign of someone who truly masters the language is reading, because you can understand on a whole new level about grammar structure, about how people speak in certain situations, and just it really improves your vocab, as opposed to just speaking with people and asking them how that works or something like that. But that is the other question, is you have to constantly ask people, and you have to be humble enough to just ask people, hey, can I use this word in this situation? Or how do I say this word? Or how do I spell this word? And it's very important to learn just humility in that sense in your language. My first companion really helped me out. His name was Elder Goodmanson. He was phenomenal at teaching me the language. He was just, his language was amazing. He had just an amazing grasp on the language, and he taught me very, very well. But I remember, you just always have to challenge yourself. My mission president asked me when I was 3 weeks into country to memorize DNC 4 in Thai, and I would recite it in a zone conference that was coming up. And I wasn't supposed to memorize DNC 4 until like week 8 of my training. I had just gotten the first vision down. But I remember specifically, just, you have to be patient with yourself. Because I was very hard on myself at first about the language, but eventually, I was understanding more. And one thing that really helps is just listening to yourself speak. I'm not sure if they're allowed iPads or iPhones in Thailand anymore, but before, our phones would actually have like a little recording thing that you could record yourself speaking, and you could just hear yourself. You could play it back and figure out how you're sounding in Thai. But the language was just, it's so fun to speak. And if you learn how to speak it with the tones and fluently speak it, it sounds like you're singing almost. I get that compliment often, actually, whenever I'm praying in Thai or something like that. And that's another thing, actually, I just wanted to share, and I feel like I should share, is praying in Thai really helped me with the language more than anything else, more than reading, more than anything, I would say. Because when we're out in the mission field, you get kind of in a missionary mode, where you just kind of say the same thing over and over again, whatever's in Preach My Gospel, you follow those lesson plans, especially as a greenie, because you just, you struggle to express yourself in a foreign language sometimes. And at first I did that, but I had this distinct impression to just pray in Thai every day. And my trainer actually complimented me at the end of our training, at the end of my 12-week training session, that I had a step up in the language because I would pray in Thai, because I was able to share my feelings in Thai, because I was able to actually say what I wanted to say. And I really found myself in that aspect, who I was, so that I could actually speak in Thai with my own personality, as opposed to doing a rote presentation every single time. But because I was able to share my feelings with Heavenly Father, my language improved dramatically after that. And I was just able to make a more personal connection with people. Because that's the whole thing, is sometimes you just have seconds to make a first impression with someone. And there were plenty of times where if I hadn't been real with them, and if I hadn't have showed them that I was a person just like them, but I had a message for them, then, so many people would have just said no. But because I was able to express myself, because I was able to be me, it made the huge difference and opened up a way for the Spirit to work in them.